Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Wisdom channel. Tonight, we'll be exploring the peaceful world of Zen Buddhism, a sacred path that turns ordinary life into a training ground for awakening. At first, Zen can seem almost too simple. A person sits, a bowl is washed, a bell is heard. Yet behind these simple moments is an ancient tradition that changed history and is still influencing how we understand the mind today. Zen asks a startling question. What if peace is not something you search for, but something that is already within you? It teaches through silence, poetry, tea, gardens, and direct experience, and allows us to see how a single breath can become a teacher. If you enjoy these gentle journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. But for now, there's nothing you need to do but relax. Let your shoulders soften. Allow your breathing to slow. And as your mind begins to loosen its grip on the day, join me as we explore this fascinating path together. Let's begin. Zen Buddhism turns the simple act of cleaning dishes into a spiritual practice. This is one of the most amazing ideas in the tradition. It refuses to place wisdom behind rare visions, secret initiations, or distant heavens. In a Zen monastery, washing a bowl is not a pause between spiritual events. It is the event itself. The hand in the water, the weight of the bowl, and the attention given to a simple task all reveal the state of the person doing it. This is why Zen can feel almost like a hidden code inside ordinary life. It suggests that the sacred was never missing. We were simply absent from it. Some people search for transformation in dramatic experiences, yet Zen keeps pointing back to the next action. Are you rushing through it, resisting it, or fully meeting it? The shock is that awakening may not arrive by escaping daily life. It may begin when daily life is no longer treated as something to get past. The mind seeking peace often becomes the very thing disturbing it. This is one of Zen's most piercing observations, because nearly everyone can recognize it. A person sits down to become calm and immediately begins judging the lack of calm. The wish for peace becomes pressure. The effort to relax becomes another form of tension. Zen is fascinated by this trap because spiritual life can easily become a polished version of ordinary craving. The mind wants a better state, then it grows frustrated when the present state refuses to obey. This is why teachers often direct attention back toward the seeking itself. What is actually happening when the mind says it must be peaceful right now? Who is demanding the experience? Why has stillness become another possession to acquire? The strange discovery is that restlessness is not always the enemy. It can become the evidence. It shows exactly how the mind manufactures the disturbance it then tries to escape. Indian Buddhism changed forever when it met China's practical genius. The meeting created one of the great transformations in spiritual history. Buddhism carried profound teachings on suffering, liberation, meditation, karma, compassion, and the nature of self. China brought a different kind of intelligence. It valued social order, naturalness, poetry, ancestors, farming life, practical conduct, and harmony with the visible world. When these streams met, something new began to form. The great questions remained, but the style became more immediate. Teachers began to press students toward what could be seen directly, not merely explained elegantly. The path moved closer to the kitchen, the fields, the garden, and the ordinary rhythms of the day. This is why Chan, later called Zen in Japan, feels so grounded and startling at the same time. It is not simply Indian Buddhism placed in another language. It is a cultural fusion, shaped by translation, debate, adaptation, and the demand that wisdom prove itself in lived experience. Bodhidharma became legendary for teaching through stillness, silence, and walls. The stories surrounding him feel almost too strange to belong to normal history. He is remembered as a foreign monk who came to China and brought a fierce meditation spirit that would later be linked with Zen. The most unforgettable image shows him facing a wall for years. Whether every detail happened exactly as told is less important than why the image survived. It presents a teacher who refused to perform holiness for an audience. He did not need a throne, a crowd, or a flood of explanations. He simply sat with an intensity that turned stillness into a challenge. Some people see this as the perfect Zen myth. The world asks for spectacle, and the teacher offers a wall. The student asks for doctrine, and the teacher offers presence. The restless mind wants something to consume, and the legend gives it nothing to grab. That emptiness becomes the teaching. Zen asks you to notice better, not believe harder. This is why the tradition can feel so fresh, even to people who are suspicious of religion. Zen does not begin by asking you to build a bigger theory about reality. It asks you to examine this breath, this reaction, this moment of irritation, this small flash of pride. Belief may have a place, but it is never allowed to replace direct seeing. What does anger feel like before you defend it? What is fear before you wrap it in a story? What is the self when you search for it honestly? These questions make Zen feel less like a system and more like a disciplined investigation. It does not flatter the intellect, but it does not insult intelligence either. It simply refuses to let thought become a substitute for contact. The challenge is practical. Do not admire wisdom from a distance. Test it in your next conversation, your next disappointment, and your next breath. A koan can break ordinary thinking by refusing ordinary answers. At first, a koan sounds like a riddle told by someone who has hidden the solution. That is the trap. The student tries to solve it with cleverness, memory, and argument, but the old tools begin to fail. A famous phrase may be short enough to remember forever, yet impossible to settle with normal logic. This is not intellectual cruelty. It is a deliberate interruption. The mind usually treats life as something to control through categories. A koan blocks that habit. It creates pressure until the student begins to see the machinery of thinking itself. Why does the mind need a neat answer? Why does uncertainty feel threatening? Why does the student want victory rather than transformation? Some koans were carried for years before they opened. The point was not to produce a clever response. The point was to change the person who believed cleverness could reach the deepest truth. Enlightenment is not escape from life, but complete intimacy with it. This overturns one of the most common fantasies about awakening. Many people imagine a spiritual person as someone lifted above bills, grief, awkwardness, work, aging, hunger, and difficult conversations. Zen points in the opposite direction. The awakened life is not somewhere beyond human experience. It is human experience met without the usual resistance and self-obsession. A person still eats, sweeps, aches, listens, and loses things. What changes is the sense of separation. Life is no longer treated as an enemy to defeat or a waiting room before something better begins. This is why old Zen stories often turn on simple moments. A sound is heard. A flower is seen. A teacher raises a finger. These are not decorative details. They show a world that has become immediate again. The astonishing idea is that liberation may not require a different universe. It may require entering this one without standing apart from it. The The tea ceremony became a lesson in attention, respect, and impermanence. At first glance, making tea seems far too simple to carry philosophical force. Yet in Zen-influenced culture, the preparation and sharing of tea became a complete training in how to meet a moment. The room is entered with care. The utensils are handled with restraint. The guest is received without showing off. Nothing needs to be extravagant because the real subject is attention. Sen no Rikyu helped shape this ideal by giving simplicity a depth that still feels powerful today. A cup is prepared, offered, received, tasted, and gone. The meeting cannot be repeated in exactly the same way. That is the hidden force of the practice. It turns a brief social act into a study of presence and loss. In a world that often confuses value with excess, the ceremony feels almost rebellious. It says, enough can be profound. It says, beauty may appear most clearly when nothing unnecessary is added. A master's silence should expose more than 1,000 explanations. This is one reason Zen stories can feel so unsettling. A student asks a serious question and expects a serious answer. The teacher remains silent, turns away, looks directly, or does something that seems to avoid the question completely. To an outsider, this may look like evasion. Within the tradition, it can be a precise form of teaching. Silence reveals what the student brings into the room. It exposes the hunger for certainty, approval, status, and intellectual control. The unanswered question begins to echo inside the person asking it. Why is an explanation needed so badly? What fear appears when words do not arrive? What is being protected by the desire to understand everything immediately? Zen does not reject language, but it knows language can become a hiding place. A silent teacher can remove that shelter in an instant. Then the student has to meet the raw condition of not knowing. Ordinary actions became sacred without needing drama, spectacle, or display. This is one of Zen's most radical contributions to spiritual life. It does not require thunder, visions, secret symbols, or overwhelming emotion before something matters. Closing a door can matter. Folding a robe can matter. Placing shoes neatly can matter. Not because these actions are theatrical, but because they reveal the quality of attention inside the person doing them. Zen takes away the excuse that wisdom only belongs to special moments. It asks whether you can meet a small task without resentment, vanity, or sleepwalking. That makes daily conduct impossible to dismiss. Grand rituals can be hollow if the mind performing them is distracted and proud. A plain action can be luminous if it is done with complete presence. This is why the tradition can feel both humble and severe. It lowers the stage, then raises the standard. Nothing has to look impressive, yet everything becomes part of the path. The word Zen comes from meditation, but points beyond technique. The word carries a long journey inside it. It comes through Japanese from the Chinese word chan, which came from an Indian term connected with meditative absorption. That path of language tells a story of teachings moving across cultures, changing sounds, and gathering new meanings. Yet the tradition is not satisfied with meditation as a mere technique. It is not simply a method for stress relief or a way to become more productive. Sitting may be central, but the deeper question is whether practice changes the whole manner of living. Does attention enter speech? Does it enter eating? Does it enter disappointment, ambition, fatigue, and desire? Zen is wary of any technique that becomes another possession for the ego. A person can collect practices and remain trapped in self-importance. The name points to meditation, but the challenge is larger. It asks whether the meditative mind can meet the entire world. Chinese Chan became Japanese Zen through monks, travel, and translation. This was not just a religious idea drifting peacefully from one place to another. It moved through human effort, dangerous journeys, political change, translation choices, temple networks, and teachers who carried living practices across the sea. Japanese monks traveled to China seeking instruction, while Chinese texts and lineages shaped new communities abroad. When Chan took root in Japan, it entered a society with its own warrior class, court culture, artistic taste, and monastic needs. The result was not a simple copy. It became Zen with distinctly Japanese forms. Some schools emphasized sitting. Others developed rigorous koan practice. Over centuries, the influence reached architecture, gardens, calligraphy, poetry, tea, and ideas of disciplined action. This makes the history feel almost cinematic. A teaching leaves one civilization and becomes something recognizable, yet transformed in another. The journey reminds us that spiritual traditions are not frozen objects. They are carried by people who risk change. Sitting meditation became the quiet backbone of many Zen communities. In a monastery, sitting is not a private wellness habit squeezed into a busy schedule. It is the central rhythm around which the day is arranged. The body is placed with care. The spine rises. The hands settle. The eyes often remain lowered because practice is not an escape into sleep. This posture matters because Zen does not treat the mind as a floating ghost inside the skull. Attention is trained through the whole body. Long sitting reveals what ordinary activity hides. Impatience appears. Memory performs. Fantasy wanders in. Irritation complains. Pride wonders how well it is doing. None of this has to be wasted. Each movement of the mind becomes material for observation. The cushion becomes a mirror that refuses to flatter. There is no audience and no entertainment. That is its power. When almost nothing is happening, the habits that usually run your life become impossible to ignore. Soto practice emphasizes just sitting without chasing special experiences. This may sound passive, but it is one of the most demanding forms of discipline. The practitioner is not sitting in order to collect visions, prove progress, or manufacture a dramatic breakthrough. The practice asks for complete sincerity without turning that sincerity into a bargain. This approach is strongly associated with Dogen, who taught that practice and awakening are not two separate stages in the ordinary sense. That idea can unsettle the part of the mind that always wants a future reward. It says the act of sitting wholeheartedly is not merely a road toward the path. It is the path being expressed now. There is nowhere for spiritual vanity to stand if nothing special is being chased. Yet there is also nowhere for laziness to hide, because just sitting requires full attention. In an achievement-obsessed world, this feels deeply countercultural. It removes the trophy and leaves only the honesty of practice. Rinzai training often uses koans to sharpen sudden insight. This school has a reputation for intensity because it refuses to let wisdom remain theoretical. A student may work with a koan and then meet the teacher privately to present understanding. A neat explanation usually fails. A borrowed answer fails even faster. The teacher is looking for something alive, something embodied, something that shows the student has not merely rearranged concepts. This gives Rinzai practice a charged atmosphere. It can involve frustration, pressure, repetition, and sudden openings that feel impossible to predict. Hakuin helped renew this tradition by giving koan training tremendous energy and structure. What makes the method fascinating is its psychological boldness. It pushes the student until the usual identity begins to crack under its own cleverness. The point is not to humiliate the mind, but to free it from pretending that thought alone is enough. Insight must appear through timing, posture, voice, and the whole person. Temple bells teach attention by interrupting the mind's wandering habits. A bell in a Zen setting is more than a beautiful sound. It is a signal that changes the entire field of attention. The room shifts. Bodies respond. Activity begins or ends. A scattered mind is called back without argument. This is important because human attention is always drifting into private weather. It replays old conversations, invents future problems, and wanders through desires it barely understands. Then the bell enters. For a moment, the inner story is interrupted by something shared and immediate. Everyone hears the same tone, but each person meets it from a different state of mind. That makes the bell both communal and personal. It gathers the group while exposing the individual. In modern life, attention is constantly harvested by screens and noise. The old bell feels almost like a counterspell. It reminds the listener that awareness can return instantly before the next thought claims ownership of the moment. Stone gardens train the eye to rest without needing decoration. The famous dry gardens associated with Zen culture can seem almost impossible at first. There may be raked gravel, stones, moss, walls, and open space. That is often all. Yet the restraint is exactly what gives them force. The viewer is not flooded with color or spectacle. Instead, the mind begins to notice relationships. A rock leans. A line curves. A patch of moss changes the whole balance. Some people have interpreted these gardens as islands, mountains, oceans, or cosmic diagrams. Others caution that fixed meanings may miss the point. Their deeper lesson may be perceptual. They train the eye to stop demanding constant stimulation. They make emptiness active. They show that space can shape experience as powerfully as objects. In that sense, the garden becomes a teaching without a lecturer. It asks a question modern culture rarely asks. What happens when nothing is added and attention finally has room to deepen? A single brushstroke can reveal discipline, hesitation, or freedom. Zen-influenced brushwork is fascinating because it gives the artist almost nowhere to hide. Once the brush meets the paper, the movement cannot be taken back. The line records pressure, speed, rhythm, confidence, uncertainty, breath, and training. A beautiful surface may still feel dead if the movement behind it was empty. A rough mark may feel alive if it carries presence. This is why calligraphy became more than writing in Zen culture. It became evidence of mind. The artist practices for years, yet the decisive moment remains fresh and risky. Too much control can stiffen the line. Too little discipline can make it collapse. The art lives in that dangerous balance. Some people are drawn to this because it feels like a spiritual lie detector. The paper receives exactly what happened. It does not care what the artist intended to project. The stroke becomes a visible trace of the person meeting the moment. Zen calligraphy values aliveness more than polished perfection. This can be startling if you were taught that beauty means neatness and symmetry. In Zen-inspired calligraphy, a line may look rough, uneven, sparse, or unfinished. Yet those qualities can carry extraordinary force when they arise from presence rather than carelessness. The goal is not sloppy expression. It is disciplined immediacy. The calligrapher trains the hand until technique no longer feels like a costume placed over experience. Then the brush can move with a kind of directness that polished perfection sometimes destroys. This offers a wider lesson about life. People often try to make the surface flawless. They edit the voice, the face, the image, and the story until very little aliveness remains. Zen aesthetics push against that instinct. They ask whether something real has passed through the form. A perfect line can be lifeless. An imperfect line can breathe. The difference is not the mistake. The difference is the mind behind it. The empty circle points toward awareness without boundary or possession. The Enso is one of the simplest and most powerful forms associated with Zen art. A circle is painted in a single movement, often with one breath and one loaded brush. It may be closed, open, balanced, rough, delicate, or forceful. That variation matters because the circle is not a manufactured symbol stamped from a template. It records a living moment. People have connected it with emptiness, wholeness, enlightenment, the universe, and the mind before division. Yet the form resists being trapped by one interpretation. It is a shape that points beyond shape. It appears on paper, but it suggests something that cannot be owned. The artist cannot repair it afterward without changing the truth of the act. Every circle is unrepeatable because the breath, hand, ink, and state of mind will never gather in exactly the same way again. Its mystery is plain. An empty form can feel full of everything. Direct experience matters more than clever explanations about experience. Zen has always been suspicious of the person who can describe the river beautifully, but never steps into the water. This is why its teachings often feel like a confrontation with the part of us that prefers commentary to contact. You can explain compassion, but can you listen without secretly preparing your reply? You can discuss impermanence, but can you feel it when a familiar season ends or a friendship changes shape? Zen keeps dragging wisdom out of the lecture hall and back into the nerves, hands, breath, and eyes. It is not against thinking. It is against mistaking thinking for arrival. Some people are drawn to Zen because it feels like a challenge to the official story inside the mind. That story says, knowing the map is the same as walking the ground. Zen says no. Taste the tea. Hear the bell. Meet the anger. Then speak from what has actually been seen. Many Zen stories end before the thinking mind feels satisfied. That unfinished feeling is part of their strange power. A monk asks about ultimate truth, and the teacher points to a tree. Someone begs for the meaning of awakening, and the answer is a shout, a gesture, or a remark that seems almost absurd. At first, these stories can feel like fragments from a lost code. They do not behave like normal moral lessons. They often refuse to explain themselves, which leaves the listener slightly unsettled. Zen uses that unsettled space with great intelligence. The mind wants a closed box with a label on it. The story refuses to provide one. Instead, it creates a pressure that follows you after the tale ends. Why did that answer matter? What did the student expect? What did you expect? This is where the story becomes active. It is not dead information. It continues working inside the listener, almost like a seed hidden beneath ordinary thought. Daily chores can become part of the path toward awakening. This teaching is practical enough to sound simple and radical enough to change your life. In many spiritual fantasies, awakening belongs to mountaintops, candles, visions, and dramatic retreats from society. Zen brings the path back to the broom, the laundry, the garden, and the dishcloth. The point is not to romanticize housework. The point is to stop dividing life into moments that matter and moments to rush through. Every ordinary task reveals whether the mind is present or absent. Resentment appears when a floor needs sweeping again. Impatience appears when a pot takes time to clean. Pride appears when no one notices the work. In this way, chores become a kind of truth serum. They show the hidden posture of the heart. Some people overlook this because it sounds too ordinary. Yet, that is exactly why it is powerful. Zen hides the laboratory in the place we keep trying to leave. Strict discipline protects attention from laziness, distraction, and self-deception. From the outside, Zen discipline can look severe. There are schedules, bells, postures, robes, forms, bows, work periods, and rules about small details. Modern people often recoil from this because we associate freedom with doing whatever we feel like doing. Zen turns that assumption upside down. It suggests that untrained impulses can become a quiet form of captivity. The mind says it wants freedom. Then it scrolls, snacks, complains, delays, and chases stimulation until the day vanishes. Discipline interrupts that pattern. It builds a container strong enough for attention to deepen. The form is not meant to crush the person. It is meant to expose the excuses that usually govern the person. This is where Zen becomes psychologically fascinating. It sees that self-deception rarely announces itself. It often appears as comfort, preference, tiredness, or personal style. Discipline becomes a mirror that does not negotiate with those disguises. Teacher and student relationships can be gentle, fierce, and transformative. Zen is not only a solitary path of sitting alone with your thoughts. It has also been shaped by intense human encounters. The teacher may encourage, challenge, question, ignore, or confront the student in ways that feel surprising from the outside. At its best, this relationship is not about blind obedience. It is about honesty sharpened by trust. A student can hide from a book. A student can flatter themselves during private meditation. A living teacher is harder to fool. In old stories, a single exchange could reveal years of confusion. In real practice, the work is often slower and more ordinary. The teacher watches patterns. The student meets resistance. Something gets exposed that would have remained invisible in isolation. This can be tender. It can also be uncomfortable. That is why the relationship has always carried both beauty and danger. When healthy, it becomes a furnace where borrowed wisdom is burned away. Spiritual pride can hide inside the language of humility. This is one of Zen's sharpest warnings, because the ego can survive almost anywhere. It can survive in wealth, status, beauty, intelligence, and even renunciation. A person may speak softly, dress simply, use sacred words, and still be quietly building a superior identity. Zen sees this as a subtle trap. The mind gives up obvious vanity, then takes pride in having given it up. It says, "I am more awakened because I need less." It says, "I am humble in a way others are not." That kind of pride can be harder to detect because it wears spiritual clothing. Zen stories often puncture this disguise with humor or abrupt honesty. The point is not to make people suspicious of all sincerity. It is to remind practitioners that self-importance is endlessly adaptive. It can hide inside good behavior. It can hide inside noble language. The test is not how spiritual someone sounds. The test is how lightly they hold themselves. Beginner's mind sees possibilities that expertise can easily miss. The phrase became famous because it names a truth that reaches far beyond meditation. Experts know a great deal, yet knowledge can harden into expectation. A person who thinks they already understand a thing may stop seeing it freshly. Zen values the beginner not because ignorance is superior, but because openness has its own intelligence. The beginner can ask the embarrassing question. The beginner can notice what the trained eye has dismissed. The beginner has not yet built a cage out of conclusions. In practice, this does not mean pretending to know nothing. It means meeting each moment without smothering it under yesterday's certainty. Some people find this almost revolutionary because adult life rewards appearing confident. Zen asks for something more vulnerable and more exact. Look again. Listen again. Let the familiar become strange enough to teach you. The world has not stopped revealing itself. The expert mind may simply have stopped being available. Boredom becomes a doorway when you stop running from it. Most people treat boredom as a problem to be medicated with noise. The hand reaches for a phone. The mind hunts for novelty. The body wants anything except the plainness of the present moment. Zen has a different suspicion. It asks what boredom actually is when you do not immediately escape it. Is it emptiness, or is it resistance to simplicity? Is the moment truly lacking, or has the mind become addicted to stimulation? This is where boredom becomes strangely fascinating. It exposes the demand that life entertain us before we agree to meet it. During meditation, boredom can arrive with great force. Nothing dramatic is happening. Nobody is applauding. The mind starts whispering that this is pointless. Zen says, watch that voice. Watch the hunger behind it. The doorway opens when boredom stops being an enemy and becomes evidence. It reveals how little of ordinary experience we usually allow ourselves to inhabit. A koan is not solved like a puzzle, but lived through. This distinction matters because a puzzle leaves the solver unchanged once the answer is found. A koan works differently. It places the student inside a pressure field where ordinary thought begins to exhaust itself. The mind searches for the trick. It tries philosophy. It tries symbolism. It tries sounding profound. None of that is the same as realization. In traditional practice, the student may carry a koan through sitting, walking, eating, working, and sleeping. It begins to follow them like a hidden question beneath every activity. The point is not to win. The point is to be altered. Some people love this because it feels like spiritual archaeology. Layer after layer of assumption gets uncovered. What is a self? What is sound? What is nothing? What is the mind before it reaches for explanation? The koan is less like a locked door with a key and more like a mirror that changes the one looking. Zen humor often reveals wisdom by surprising the ego into honesty. There is a mischievous intelligence running through many Zen stories. Teachers overturn expectations, students misunderstand obvious things, and solemn questions are sometimes met with laughter. This humor is not just entertainment. It can be a surgical instrument. The ego likes dignity. It wants to appear serious, advanced, wounded, special, or spiritually important. A sudden joke can collapse that performance in an instant. What remains may be more honest than the noble speech that came before it. Zen humor often works because it catches the mind leaning the wrong way. The student expects a grand teaching, and the teacher comments on lunch. The seeker wants ultimate truth, and the answer exposes their posture, their tone, or their hunger to be impressive. This can feel shocking, but it is not careless. It is a way of returning people to the ground. Sometimes laughter reaches places that argument cannot touch, because laughter disarms the guard at the gate. The sound of one hand points beyond ordinary logical argument. This famous phrase has traveled far beyond Zen, often as a symbol of mystery or paradox. Yet in its original training context, it is not merely a quirky saying. It is meant to disturb the normal machinery of thought. The mind hears it and immediately tries to complete the missing half. One hand cannot clap in the ordinary sense, so the intellect begins hunting for symbolism. Perhaps it means silence. Perhaps it means unity. Perhaps it means something cosmic. Zen is interested in watching that whole scramble unfold. The koan forces the student to confront the limits of verbal cleverness. It is not asking for a theory about one hand. It is demanding a response from a deeper place than explanation. That is why it has survived so powerfully. It functions like a small crack in the wall of ordinary certainty. Through that crack, the practitioner begins to suspect that reality may not be trapped inside familiar categories. Monasteries were shaped by farming, cooking, sweeping, and sitting. A Zen monastery was not only a place for mystical contemplation. It was a living organism with food to grow, meals to prepare, paths to maintain, floors to clean, and bodies to care for. This practical structure gave Zen its grounded character. The day was not divided into sacred meditation and meaningless labor. Work carried the same demand for attention as sitting. That is why monastery life can feel so compelling to imagine. Every action has weight. A vegetable is cut with care. A courtyard is swept before leaves return. A schedule continues whether someone feels inspired or not. This environment quietly dismantles the fantasy that spirituality is only about private experiences. The community must function. People must cooperate. Irritations must be met. Hunger must be answered. The whole system becomes a training device. It takes the wild movements of the mind and places them inside a rhythm where nothing is too small to matter. Dogen taught that practice and awakening are not separate stages. This idea sounds simple until you feel how deeply it challenges the usual spiritual mindset. Many seekers imagine practice as a ladder. First you sit, struggle, improve, and someday awakening arrives as a reward. Dogen unsettled that arrangement. He taught that wholehearted practice is not merely preparation for enlightenment. It is the expression of enlightenment. This does not mean everyone is automatically wise in the ordinary sense. It means the act of practicing completely is already participating in what the path points toward. That changes the emotional atmosphere of meditation. Sitting is no longer a bargain with the future. It is not a performance designed to earn a cosmic prize. It is the present, taking the form of the path. Some people find this idea almost impossible because our minds are trained to chase outcomes. Dogen asks for something stranger. Sit as if nothing is missing, while also giving yourself completely to the discipline that reveals it. Hakuin revived Rinzai training with fierce discipline and powerful art. Hakuin is one of those figures who makes Zen feel alive, intense, and impossible to reduce to calm slogans. He lived during a period when Rinzai practice needed renewal, and he brought extraordinary energy to the task. His teaching emphasized rigorous koan work, strong effort, and the need for realization that could survive ordinary life. He was not only a teacher. He was also a striking artist whose brushwork could feel bold, humorous, rough, and deeply human. That combination matters. He did not present awakening as fragile refinement. He presented it as something robust enough to enter villages, bodies, laughter, exhaustion, and daily trouble. Hakuin's influence helped shape the way many later practitioners understood koan training. Some people are drawn to him because he breaks the stereotype of Zen as merely soft and serene. His Zen has fire in it. It demands honesty, persistence, and the courage to face the mind without decorative excuses. Samurai admired Zen, although its heart was never violence. This relationship is often misunderstood because it has been surrounded by romance, film, and half-true mythology. Members of the warrior class were drawn to Zen for reasons that are easy to imagine. It trained attention. It faced death directly. It valued composure under pressure and action without hesitation. Those qualities could be attractive to people living in a world of danger, loyalty, and conflict. Yet Zen itself is not a philosophy of violence. Its deeper heart is awakening, compassion, discipline, and freedom from delusion. The connection with warriors shows how spiritual practices can be adopted by very different social forces. A teaching meant to dissolve ego can be admired by people who carry swords. That tension makes the history fascinating and uncomfortable. It warns us not to simplify tradition into pure ideals or glamorous legends. Human beings borrow wisdom for many reasons. Sometimes they seek liberation. Sometimes they seek power, focus, or fearlessness. Archery became a Western symbol of calm focus and inner stillness. For many modern readers, Zen archery entered the imagination through stories of effortless action. The archer draws the bow, releases without forcing, and allows the shot to happen as if the self has stepped aside. This image became powerful because it offered an alternative to anxious effort. In ordinary life, people try to control every outcome through tension. The Zen-inspired image suggests another possibility. Training can become so complete that action flows without the usual interference of self-conscious thought. Whether every Western interpretation of Zen archery is historically perfect is not the main reason the symbol endured. The attraction is psychological. It speaks to anyone who has ruined a moment by trying too hard. The body knows what to do, then the anxious mind interrupts. Archery becomes a visible drama of that struggle. The target is not only across the room. It is also the restless sense of self gripping the release. Modern psychology found value in attention, awareness, and non-attachment. When psychologists and therapists began exploring meditation, they found ideas that seemed surprisingly useful for modern suffering. Attention could be trained. Thoughts could be observed rather than obeyed. Emotions could be felt without becoming identity. The old contemplative language began to meet clinical language in interesting ways. Zen was not the only influence, but its emphasis on direct awareness fit naturally into this conversation. People trapped in anxiety often believe every thought deserves immediate loyalty. People caught in rumination may not realize they are rehearsing pain. A meditative approach introduces a small gap. There is the thought, and there is the knowing of the thought. That gap can change everything. It does not require strange beliefs. It requires practice. Some people find this fascinating because an ancient path suddenly appears inside modern therapy rooms, stress programs, and research settings. The monk and the psychologist begin asking similar questions from different doors. Mindfulness has Buddhist roots, although Zen demands deeper transformation. Today, mindfulness is often presented as a tool for stress reduction, better focus, and emotional regulation. Those uses can be valuable, but they are only a small piece of a much larger inheritance. In Buddhist contexts, awareness was never meant to be a pleasant accessory added to the same old life. It belonged to a path that questioned craving, identity, suffering, ethics, perception, and liberation. Zen carries that deeper demand in its own direct style. It does not only ask you to notice a breath during a difficult day. It asks what kind of person is being built by your habits. It asks whether attention changes how you speak, consume, work, love, react, and forgive. This is where the modern version can become too thin. Calm is not the whole point. A thief can be calm. Zen asks for awakening that reaches conduct. It is less interested in managing stress than in seeing through the roots of confusion. Emptiness does not mean nothingness. It means radical interdependence. This is one of the most misunderstood ideas in Buddhism. To many ears, emptiness sound bleak, as if the teaching says life is meaningless or unreal. The actual point is far more interesting. Things are empty of separate, fixed, independent existence. A cup depends on clay, heat, hands, tools, water, birth, language, and the person who uses it. A person depends on parents, food, breath, culture, memory, sunlight, labor, and countless conditions that cannot be separated cleanly. Zen takes this insight out of philosophy and places it into lived perception. Nothing stands alone. Everything is woven. This can feel almost cosmic without needing fantasy. The self that feels isolated is revealed as a moving intersection of causes and relationships. That recognition can soften pride and loneliness at the same time. Emptiness does not erase the world. It makes the world more intimate. It shows that every ordinary thing is secretly made of everything else. Clinging to a fixed identity creates unnecessary suffering. Zen is ruthless about the stories people tell themselves. I am this kind of person. I cannot change. I must be respected. I was wronged. I am superior. I am broken. These identities may contain pieces of truth, but the suffering begins when they become prisons. The mind keeps defending a self-image long after it has stopped serving life. It rejects evidence. It repeats old wounds. It chooses familiar pain over unfamiliar freedom. Zen does not ask us to pretend personality disappears. It asks us to investigate how solid the self really is. In meditation, thoughts, moods, memories, and rules arise and pass. The observer begins to notice that the identity being protected is more fluid than it first appeared. This can be unsettling, but it is also liberating. If the self is not a stone statue, then transformation is possible. The grip can loosen. A life can move again. A simple meal can become a complete practice of gratitude. In Zen, eating is not just refueling the body. It can become a direct encounter with dependence, restraint, and appreciation. A bowl of rice carries rain, soil, farmers, insects, tools, transport, cooks, fire, and the labor of many unseen hands. When that is truly noticed, gratitude stops being a polite emotion and becomes a recognition of reality. Monastic meals often include forms that slow the act down. The food is received carefully. Portions matter. Waste is avoided. Silence may reveal how much habit surrounds appetite. Do you reach automatically? Do you complain inwardly? Do you taste what is actually there? This transforms a meal into something far more revealing than indulgence or nutrition alone. Some people find this idea powerful because it brings spiritual practice to the table without needing drama. Every bite becomes evidence that no one lives independently. To eat with awareness is to confess that life is being given constantly. Monastic silence protects the mind from needless noise and performance. Silence in a monastery is not merely the absence of talking. It is a designed environment that exposes what speech often hides. People talk to connect, but they also talk to impress, defend, distract, control, and avoid discomfort. When unnecessary speech falls away, the inner noise becomes much easier to hear. This can be surprising. A quiet room may reveal a very loud mind. Zen uses this discovery carefully. Without constant conversation, practitioners begin to notice posture, movement, intention, and emotional weather. They also notice how much energy is spent maintaining a social image. Silence can feel awkward because the usual mask has fewer places to perform. That is why it can be protective. It guards attention from being scattered by endless commentary. It also allows the community to function without everyone constantly asserting themselves. The result is not emptiness in the dull sense. It is a sharper field where small actions become more visible. Robes remind practitioners that simplicity can carry deep meaning. A robe can look plain to the casual observer, yet in Zen it carries history, discipline, humility, and belonging. Clothing is never just clothing. It shapes how a person moves and how a person understands their role. Ordinary fashion often says, "Notice me, admire me, read my status." A robe says something different. It reduces personal display and places the practitioner inside a shared form. That can be powerful because the self loves to decorate itself. It wants to be special even in spiritual settings. Robes make that game harder. They also connect the wearer to generations of practice. The fabric may be simple, but the meaning is layered. Putting it on can become a reminder that this life is not only personal preference. It belongs to a path, a community, and a discipline older than the mood of the morning. Simplicity here is not emptiness. It is memory made wearable. Zen teachings can arrive through action instead of explanation. This is why the tradition contains so many startling stories. A teacher may close a door, lift a finger, strike the floor, pour tea, or leave the room. The action is not random theatre. It is a way of reaching the student before the conceptual mind can turn everything into a lecture. Explanation has value, but it can also keep insight at a safe distance. Action is harder to possess. It happens now. It asks for a response from the whole person. In Zen, the body is not treated as a dumb servant of the intellect. It can understand before language catches up. A bow, a step, a glance, or a pause may reveal more than a speech. Some people are fascinated by this because it feels like a hidden channel of communication. The teaching moves beneath the official surface of words. It reaches the place where reaction, attention, and presence are actually happening. Sudden gestures can interrupt habits that words cannot reach. A shout, a clap, a raised hand, or an unexpected movement can break the trance of ordinary thinking. Zen stories often preserve these moments because they dramatize something important. The mind can become hypnotized by its own explanations. It loops, argues, analyses, and builds a private courtroom where every thought demands a hearing. Words may only add more material to that loop. A sudden gesture enters from another direction. It surprises the nervous system. It creates a gap before the usual interpretation returns. In that gap, the student may see something directly. Of course, this can be misunderstood if it becomes mere imitation. The power is not in theatrical shock for its own sake. The power is in timing, relationship, and insight. A true interruption meets the exact place where the student is stuck. It is like tapping a glass at the precise frequency that makes the old pattern tremble. The mind is not rejected. It is carefully observed. Zen is sometimes mistaken for a war against thought, as if the goal were to become blank or numb. That misunderstanding misses the subtlety of the practice. The mind is not treated as an enemy to destroy. It is treated as a phenomenon to study with great patience. Thoughts arise, images appear, plans form, memories return. Judgments arrive before they are invited. Instead of believing all of this automatically, the practitioner learns to watch. This changes the relationship to inner life. A thought can be seen without being obeyed. A fear can be felt without becoming prophecy. A desire can be noticed without becoming identity. That is an enormous shift. Some people find it more mysterious than any supernatural claim, because it reveals how little control we have over the stream we call ourselves. Zen does not need to banish the mind. It simply turns the light around and observes how the show is produced. Meditation reveals how thoughts appear without asking permission. Sit still for a few minutes, and this becomes obvious. Thoughts do not wait politely for approval. They arrive as plans, songs, regrets, fantasies, arguments, worries, memories, and fragments of conversations. One moment, you are following the breath. The next moment, you are solving a problem from 10 years ago, or imagining a future that may never happen. Zen treats this not as failure, but as revelation. The mind is showing its nature. It produces movement. It reaches. It associates. It narrates. The important discovery is that thoughts can appear without being chosen. That means they do not deserve absolute authority just because they are present. This insight can be life-changing. A cruel thought is not necessarily truth. A frightened thought is not necessarily warning. An angry thought is not necessarily justice. Meditation opens a space where the practitioner can witness the arising of thought before being pulled completely into its story. Breath becomes a doorway because it is always happening now. The breath is an ordinary miracle that requires no special equipment, belief, or dramatic setting. It is present in grief, joy, boredom, fear, work, illness, love, and sleep. Zen uses breath because it is immediate and honest. You cannot breathe yesterday. You cannot breathe tomorrow. You can only meet this movement as it arrives. That makes it a powerful anchor for attention. The breath also reveals the connection between body and mind. Anxiety changes it. Anger tightens it. Ease softens it. Watching breath is therefore not a small technique. It is a direct way of studying how life moves through you. Some people overlook it because it is too familiar. Zen turns that familiarity into a revelation. The most available doorway is often the least noticed. Every inhale arrives without your philosophy. Every exhale leaves without your permission. The breath keeps teaching presence, whether the mind understands the lesson or not. Practice does not remove problems. It changes the one meeting them. This is a crucial correction to many fantasies about spiritual life. People often hope meditation will make existence smooth. They want fewer difficult people, fewer losses, fewer fears, fewer disappointments, and fewer inconvenient responsibilities. Zen offers something more sober and more powerful. The world may still bring illness, conflict, bills, criticism, uncertainty, and grief. Practice does not guarantee exemption from being human. Instead, it changes the relationship to what arises. A problem once met with panic may be met with steadier attention. A painful emotion once turned into identity may be recognized as passing weather. A conflict once driven by pride may open into listening. That is not a small change. It is the difference between being possessed by experience and participating in it consciously. Zen does not sell a perfect life. It trains a freer meeting with an imperfect one. The miracle is not that storms stop. The miracle is that the person inside them changes. The ordinary self becomes less solid under patient observation. At first, the self feels obvious. There is me, my story, my anger, my plans, my wounds, my preferences, and my future. Yet meditation begins to reveal something stranger. What we call the self is always shifting. A mood appears and claims to be me. A memory rises and claims authority. A row takes over in one room, then another row appears somewhere else. The more closely this is observed, the less solid the whole structure becomes. Zen does not need to replace the self with a theory. It asks you to look directly. Where is the fixed owner of all these changing experiences? Is it in the body, the thoughts, the name, the memories, or the opinions? Each answer starts to move when examined. This can feel destabilizing, but it can also be freeing. If the self is not as fixed as it claims, then old suffering may not be as permanent as it feels. Commentary on life can become a substitute for living it. Zen notices a strange human habit. We do not only experience life. We narrate it, judge it, explain it, compare it, and turn it into a private broadcast running inside the head. A meal becomes a review. A conversation becomes a courtroom. A walk becomes planning for the next task. This constant commentary can feel like intelligence, but Zen asks whether it sometimes becomes a cage. The mind talks about the moment so much that it stops touching the moment directly. That is a startling possibility. What if the inner narrator is not always helping? What if it is standing between you and the raw event of being alive? In meditation, this becomes visible. Thoughts keep describing what is happening, even when nothing needs description. Zen does not demand that language disappear. It asks you to see when language has taken over. Life may be closer than the voice explaining it. Presence is not an idea. It is something trained. People often speak about being present as if it were a mood, a slogan, or a pleasant spiritual preference. Zen treats it more seriously. Presence is built through repeated return. The attention wanders, then comes back. The body slumps, then remembers posture. The hand rushes, then slows. Over time, this creates a different relationship with reality. It is almost like training a hidden muscle that modern life keeps weakening. Every distraction teaches the mind to scatter. Every return teaches it to gather. This is why practice matters more than admiration. You can love the idea of mindfulness and still live mostly inside fantasy, anxiety, and automatic reaction. Zen cares about the actual capacity. Can you remain awake while listening? Can you notice irritation before it becomes speech? Can you inhabit a task without turning it into background noise? Presence is not something you claim. It is something your life demonstrates under pressure. A clean floor can reflect a clean relationship with attention. In Zen, sweeping is not merely about removing dust. It is about revealing how the mind meets what is directly in front of it. A person can sweep angrily, mechanically, proudly, or with care. The floor receives the same broom, but the interaction is completely different. This is why monastery work can feel almost like a secret technology for exposing consciousness. Nobody needs to ask what state the practitioner is in. The task begins to show it. A rushed corner, a careless tour, or resentment toward repetition can reveal more than a dramatic confession. The lesson is not that cleanliness equals holiness. That would be too simple. The deeper point is that attention leaves traces. How we handle objects, rooms, food, and shared spaces reflects how we handle the world itself. Some people search for hidden signs in distant places. Zen points to the floor and asks what your hands are revealing right now. Masters warned against collecting spiritual concepts like possessions. This warning feels more relevant now than ever. A person can gather teachings, quotes, practices, symbols, retreats, and sacred vocabulary while remaining almost unchanged. The mind turns wisdom into decoration. It says, "I know," about emptiness. I understand nonattachment. I have read the great books. Zen sees the danger clearly. Knowledge can become another form of ownership. The ego may not care whether it possesses money, status, or spiritual language. It simply enjoys possessing. That is why teachers often cut through impressive explanations. They want to know what has been realized in conduct. Can the person listen without arrogance? Can they meet frustration without collapse? Can they help without needing admiration? A shelf full of teachings can become a museum of avoided practice. This is not an argument against study. It is a warning about digestion. Wisdom has to be lived, or it becomes another object the self carries around for display. The 10 ox-herding pictures map the journey of awakening. This series of images is one of Zen's most memorable teaching tools because it turns inner transformation into a simple visual story. A seeker looks for an ox, finds traces, catches sight of it, struggles with it, tames it, rides it home, forgets it, disappears into emptiness, and finally returns to the marketplace with open hands. The ox is often understood as the mind, the true nature, or the elusive reality the seeker has been chasing. What makes the sequence so fascinating is that the journey does not end with private bliss. It ends with return. The awakened person comes back into ordinary society. That final movement matters. Zen is not satisfied with someone vanishing into personal insight and staying there. The path bends back toward people, trade, laughter, need, and service. Some people see these images as a spiritual map hidden in plain sight. The treasure is found, then released into everyday life. Enlightenment stories often begin with frustration, failure, or exhaustion. That detail makes them far more believable than stories of smooth spiritual success. A monk struggles with a question until the mind feels scraped raw. A student reaches the limit of cleverness. Someone becomes tired of pretending that more explanation will solve the basic ache. Then something breaks open through a sound, a phrase, a blow to expectation, or an ordinary sight. Zen preserves these moments because they reveal the role of pressure. Awakening is not always presented as a graceful ascent. Sometimes it looks like the collapse of a strategy that never worked. This is important for anyone who feels discouraged in practice. Frustration may not mean the path has failed. It may mean the usual identity is running out of tricks. Some people are drawn to this because it feels almost like a hidden law of transformation. The door opens only after the false doors have worn out their promise. Few words can sometimes protect the force of direct perception. Zen often uses language sparingly because it understands how quickly words can cover what they were meant to reveal. A long explanation can become fog. A short phrase can strike like a bell. This is not because short speech is automatically wise. It is because the right words, placed at the right moment, can leave space for seeing. Teachers in the tradition often spoke with sharp economy. They knew that if everything is explained too neatly, the listener may only collect the explanation. The living question disappears. Direct perception needs room. When someone points out a bird, a flower, a bowl, or a breath, too many words can drag the moment back into concept. Zen's restraint can feel mysterious, but it is also practical. It protects experience from being smothered by commentary. In a world that floods every silence with opinion, the disciplined use of few words can feel almost rebellious. Haiku absorbs Zen through directness, seasonality, and restraint. The short form became a perfect vessel for a certain kind of attention. A haiku does not have room for long argument. It often turns toward a seasonal detail, an ordinary event, or a sudden shift in perception. The power comes from what is noticed and what is left unsaid. That restraint has deep kinship with Zen. Instead of explaining the meaning of a moment, the poem lets the moment stand. A frog jumps. A crow settles. A winter field appears. The reader is not dragged into a lecture. They are invited into contact. This is why haiku can feel small and vast at the same time. It holds a brief scene with such care that time seems to open around it. Some people treat poetry as decoration. In this tradition, a few plain words can become a doorway into impermanence, attention, and the strange fullness of what usually passes unnoticed. Sen no Rikyu transformed simplicity into a profound cultural language. Rikyu's influence on tea culture shows how radical restraint can become when it is practiced with total seriousness. He did not make simplicity into poverty of imagination. He made it into a language of depth. A small room could humble the powerful. A rough bowl could carry more presence than a luxurious object. A low entrance could remind every guest to bow before entering. This was not merely taste. It was philosophy enacted through space, movement, and material. Rikyu helped shape a world where nothing had to shout in order to matter. That is why his legacy still feels charged. It challenges the assumption that importance must announce itself through grandeur. Some people sense something almost coded in his approach. The room, the utensils, and the gestures all seem to whisper the same message. Remove the excess, and another kind of power appears. Not the power of possession, but the power of attention. Wabi-sabi honors imperfection, age, restraint, and quiet dignity. This aesthetic has become famous, but its deeper meaning is often softened into a decorating style. At its heart, it carries a serious challenge to the way people chase perfection. A cracked bowl, weathered wood, faded color, or uneven surface can reveal time rather than hide it. Instead of treating age as failure, wabi-sabi allows age to speak. Instead of polishing every mark away, it asks what the mark has to teach. This connects strongly with Zen because it values directness and impermanence over artificial control. Life is not smooth. Bodies change. Objects wear down. Seasons pass. The attempt to deny this can create anxiety and false beauty. Wabi-sabi offers another response. It lets the incomplete remain visible without shame. Some people find this almost subversive in a culture of filters, upgrades, and constant self-improvement. It says that dignity may appear precisely where perfection has stopped pretending. Empty space in architecture can feel active, alive, and intentional. Zen-influenced design often understands that space is not nothing. A bare wall, an open floor, or a pause between objects can shape perception as strongly as any ornament. This is a difficult lesson for cultures addicted to filling every surface. We tend to assume that emptiness means something is missing. Zen aesthetics suggest that emptiness may be doing work. It gives the eye somewhere to rest. It gives the body room to enter. It allows one object to be fully seen. In certain rooms, the lack of clutter feels almost like a presence. The space seems to breathe. This is not accidental. It comes from an intelligence that respects absence as much as form. Some people talk about hidden energies in spaces. Zen offers a grounded version of that feeling. The arrangement of emptiness changes the mind. It can make a room feel disciplined, alert, and strangely awake. A raked stone garden turns stillness into disciplined arrangement. The act of raking gravel may seem repetitive, but it is one of the clearest examples of attention made visible. Lines appear in the surface. Curves gather around stones. Disturbance is smoothed into pattern. The garden becomes a record of care. Yet the pattern is temporary. Wind, leaves, rain, and footsteps can change it. That is part of its power. The work must be renewed, and the renewal is not a failure. It is the practice. This makes the garden feel like a physical teaching about the mind. Attention is arranged, lost, and arranged again. Order does not remain by accident. It is maintained through return. Some people look at these gardens and imagine secret maps or cosmic diagrams. The more immediate mystery is already enough. A human being kneels before gravel and makes stillness visible. The result is not decoration alone. It is discipline translated into space. Temple cooking respects ingredients by wasting as little as possible. In Zen kitchens, food preparation becomes a study of gratitude, responsibility, and clear attention. An ingredient is not treated as disposable matter. It arrives through countless conditions, including weather, soil, labor, transport, and the lives of other beings. To waste it carelessly is to ignore that web. This makes cooking far more than a practical chore. It becomes an ethical encounter with the world. Peels, stems, leftovers, and simple grains are handled with thought. The cook asks how to nourish the community without vanity or excess. That question feels especially powerful in an age of abundance and waste. Zen does not need to preach loudly here. The cutting board teaches. The pot teaches. The scrap bucket teaches. Some people search for sacred messages in hidden manuscripts. Yet a monastery kitchen may contain one of the most direct teachings of all. Nothing arrives alone, so nothing should be treated as worthless. The Tenzo turns kitchen work into a form of spiritual leadership. The cook in a Zen monastery holds a role far deeper than meal preparation. The Tenzo nourishes the bodies that sustain practice. That responsibility carries discipline, timing, humility, and care. A meal poorly handled affects the entire community. A meal prepared with attention supports sitting, work, chanting, and study. Dogen wrote seriously about this role because he saw that the kitchen was not separate from awakening. The person stirring soup is shaping the conditions for realization. That idea changes the meaning of service. Leadership is not always standing above others and speaking. Sometimes it is waking early, checking rice, tending fire, and making sure no one is forgotten. This can feel like a reversal of ordinary status. The hidden worker becomes spiritually central. Some people love this because it exposes a secret architecture of community. The visible teachers may receive attention, but the one feeding everyone may be holding the whole practice together. Monastery schedules prevent personal moods from governing the entire day. The bell rings whether someone feels inspired or not. That simple fact carries enormous psychological force. In ordinary life, moods often become rulers. If we feel tired, we delay. If we feel bored, we escape. If we feel irritated, we justify carelessness. A monastic schedule interrupts this private monarchy. Sitting happens. Work happens. Meals happen. Rest happens. The individual mood is noticed, but it does not command the whole structure. This is not meant to make people mechanical. It is meant to free them from being dragged around by every passing inner weather pattern. Over time, the practitioner learns that feelings move through a larger rhythm. They do not have to decide everything. Some people find this strangely liberating. The day becomes a container stronger than preference. The schedule says, "Come as you are, but come fully." In that way, discipline becomes compassion for the unstable mind. Bowing trains humility without needing long philosophical explanations. A bow is simple, physical, and difficult to fake completely. The body lowers. The head drops. The self, that wants to stand above everything, is asked to move differently. Zen uses this action because humility cannot remain only an idea. It must enter the body. People can speak about respect for hours and still behave with arrogance. A bow tests the matter directly. It may be offered to a teacher, a cushion, a meal, a room, or another practitioner. The point is not worship of objects. It is the training of relationship. The world is no longer treated as a collection of things beneath the self. The body learns reverence before the mind can turn reverence into theory. Some people resist bowing because it feels like surrender. Zen asks what is being surrendered. Is it dignity, or is it the constant demand to be central? The answer is discovered through the movement itself. Chanting joins body, breath, memory, and community in practice. When a group chants together, the teaching is not only being understood by the intellect, it is being carried by lungs, mouth, posture, rhythm, and sound. This matters because Zen is often imagined as silent, sitting alone, but community sound has its own power. A chant can steady breathing. It can place ancient words into living bodies. It can let individuals feel part of something larger than private thought. The meaning of the text may not be grasped fully at first, especially when traditional languages are used. Yet the practice still works on attention. The voice must enter the same rhythm as others. The body cannot remain completely isolated. This creates a kind of shared field. Some people describe such moments as strangely timeless. The chant has moved through generations, and now it moves through this room. It is not merely recitation. It is memory becoming breath. Incense marks time by disappearing as it offers fragrance. A stick of incense teaches without speaking. It is lit, it releases scent, and it slowly becomes ash. The object gives itself away through the very act that makes it noticeable. That is a powerful image in Zen settings. Time is not measured by a clock face alone. It is sensed through transformation. Something present becomes less visible while filling the room in another form. This can sharpen awareness during sitting, chanting, or ceremony. The fragrance arrives, changes, fades, and cannot be held. That movement reflects impermanence more directly than a lecture. Some people are fascinated by incense because it feels like matter crossing a threshold. Wood, resin, smoke, scent, air, and memory all mingle for a brief period. Then, the trace remains only in perception. Zen does not need to make this dramatic. It simply places the experience nearby and lets the practitioner notice. The teaching rises, thins, and vanishes. Zen treats words with caution, then uses them with precision. This is one of the tradition's Greek paradoxes. Zen is famous for pointing beyond language, yet it has produced unforgettable sayings, poems, records, commentaries, and instructions. The caution is not hatred of words. It is awareness of their danger. Words can guide, but they can also replace seeing. They can clarify, but they can also become smokescreens for pride. That is why Zen often uses language like a blade rather than a blanket. A few words may cut through confusion. Too many may protect it. Teachers learned to speak in ways that disturbed passive listening. A phrase could be plain, absurd, abrupt, tender, or severe. The purpose was not literary decoration. The purpose was impact. Some people are drawn to this because it feels like a secret art of communication. Zen does not ask whether words sound impressive. It asks whether they open the hand that is gripping illusion. The Platform Sutra helped shape the teaching of sudden awakening. This text became one of the great treasures of Chan because it presented awakening as immediate and available, not dependent on elite scholarship. At its center stands Huineng, a figure remembered as a poor and uneducated man whose insight surpassed expectations. That story carried explosive force. It suggested that the deepest realization could appear outside the official hierarchy of learning. The teaching of sudden awakening does not mean practice is unnecessary. It means true nature is not manufactured piece by piece like a constructed object. It can be recognized directly. This idea changed the emotional temperature of the path. Awakening was not only for those with refined language, privileged training, or long intellectual preparation. It could flash forth in a person the world underestimated. Some people find this deeply compelling because it challenges spiritual gatekeeping. The text feels almost like a hidden door opening in the wall of religious authority. Huineng became legendary because wisdom appeared outside formal learning. His story remains powerful because it overturns the usual assumptions about who gets to be wise. He was not remembered as a polished scholar rising through official channels. He was remembered as someone whose insight broke through the expectations around class, education, and status. The famous tale places him in a contest of verses, where true understanding appears from the person least expected to carry it. Whether every detail is historically simple is not the point of the legend's power. The story says something larger. Awakening is not owned by institutions. It is not guaranteed by literacy, rank, or religious prestige. This does not make study worthless. It makes pride dangerous. Huineng's image continues to fascinate because it feels like a spiritual rebellion. The hidden master is not on the throne. He may be working in the background, overlooked by everyone who mistakes appearance for realization. Zen loves that reversal because it exposes how blindness wears respectable clothing. Lineages preserve memory through stories, rituals, and teacher transmission. Zen lineage is more than a family tree of names. It is a way of saying that practice moves through human beings, not just through books. The teacher receives instruction, embodies it as far as possible, and passes it to another. Along the way, stories gather around encounters, failures, breakthroughs, reforms, and misunderstandings. Rituals help carry that memory through the body. Names are chanted. Ancestors are honored. Forms are repeated. To a modern outsider, this may look like tradition for tradition's sake. Yet lineage serves a deeper function. It reminds practitioners that they did not invent the path this morning. They are standing inside a long experiment in attention and awakening. Of course, lineages can also be misused if they become status symbols. Zen knows that danger. At its best, lineage is not a trophy. It is a responsibility to keep the living flame from turning into museum glass. Dharma transmission carries responsibility, not spiritual decoration or prestige. The idea of receiving transmission can sound mysterious, and it has often attracted fascination for that reason. People may imagine a secret power being handed from master to student. The reality is more demanding. Transmission is meant to recognize that a person can carry the teaching forward. That means responsibility to students, community, ethics, forms, and the living tradition. It is not supposed to be a spiritual medal pinned to the ego. Zen repeatedly warns that status can corrupt practice when recognition becomes self-ornament. A transmitted teacher must still cook, listen, apologize, age, learn, and meet their own blind spots. The title does not remove humanity. It intensifies accountability. Some people are drawn to the mystery of transmission because it feels like an invisible torrent moving through history. Yet the deeper mystery is practical. Can realization become trustworthy conduct? Can insight survive power? The answer has to be shown over time. Some masters became famous by refusing the hunger for fame. Zen history contains figures whose authority grew partly because they did not seem interested in building an image. They lived simply, answered strangely, avoided courtly performance, or stepped outside the expected path. This creates a paradox. The more they refused reputation, the more memorable they became. That should make us pause. Many spiritual figures become known by offering certainty, charisma, and a polished identity. Zen often preserves a different kind of magnetism. A teacher may appear rough, hidden, poor, humorous, or uninterested in admiration. The power comes from independence from the audience. Some people find this deeply intriguing because it feels like an antidote to modern self-branding. What kind of person does not need to be seen in order to be real? What kind of authority grows from not performing authority? Zen stories return to this theme because the hunger for recognition is one of the ego's oldest disguises. Solitude matters deeply, but the path is also communal. Zen values sitting alone with the mind because no one else can do that work for you. At some point, you must meet your own fear, boredom, pride, grief, and restless thought without an audience. Solitude reveals what social life can hide. Yet the tradition also knows that isolation can become another trap. Alone, a person may invent private wisdom that no one tests. They may mistake avoidance for freedom. They may polish a self-image that collapses in relationship. Community brings friction, rhythm, correction, and service. The person who feels peaceful alone may discover impatience while sharing a kitchen. The one who speaks of compassion may struggle when another person is slow, loud, or difficult. This is why Zen practice often moves between cushion and community. The inner work needs outer testing. The private insight must become public conduct. Solitude deepens the root, but community reveals the fruit. Shared practice makes private moods less powerful than discipline. There is a special force in practicing beside others. You may arrive tired, irritated, distracted, or full of resistance, yet the room is already practicing. People sit, people bow, people walk. The form continues. This makes the personal mood less convincing. It does not disappear, but it no longer owns the whole world. Shared practice creates a field that carries individuals when private willpower is weak. That is one reason communities matter. The body finds the posture because other bodies have found it too. The bell calls everyone, not just the inspired. The schedule gathers attention before the mind has finished complaining. Some people find this almost uncanny. A group can hold a level of steadiness that individuals could not easily maintain alone. Zen uses that fact without needing to mystify it. Human beings are contagious creatures. Distraction spreads, but discipline can spread too. In the right container, practice becomes stronger than preference. Repetition becomes meaningful when attention stops treating it as empty. Modern culture often worships novelty, so repetition can feel like a punishment. Zen sees it differently. Repeating a bow, a chant, a step, a breath, or a task can reveal whether the mind is present or merely consuming experience. The action may look the same from the outside, but it is never exactly the same. The body is different. The mood is different. The room is different. The resistance is different. The attention is different. Repetition becomes boring only when the mind assumes it already knows what is happening. Zen uses repeated forms to challenge that assumption. Can you meet this bow as if it has never happened before? Can you wash this cup without dragging yesterday into it? Some people find this idea quietly mind-blowing. The world may not be dull. The dullness may come from the story that says we have already seen it. One cup of tea can reveal grasping, gratitude, and presence. The act seems too small to expose anything important, yet that is exactly why it works. Watch how the hand reaches. Watch whether the mind wants more, complains about taste, compares it with another cup, or rushes past it toward the next event. A simple drink can reveal appetite, preference, impatience, memory, and appreciation. Zen is brilliant at using ordinary moments this way. It does not need a grand crisis to study the self. The self appears in tiny movements. A cup is received, lifted, warmed by the hands, tasted, and emptied. Within that small ceremony, an entire life pattern can be seen. Some people seek hidden teachings in rare symbols, but Zen keeps returning to what is unavoidable. You drink. You want. You judge. You forget. Or, for a moment, you wake up. The cup becomes a small theater where craving and gratitude both step into the light. Resistance often creates more suffering than the situation itself. Zen does not deny that life brings real pain. Illness hurts. Loss hurts. Failure hurts. Cruelty hurts. But it asks us to examine the second layer we add to difficulty. Something unpleasant happens, and then the mind begins arguing with reality. This should not be happening. I cannot bear this. My life is ruined. Everyone else has escaped this. That resistance can multiply suffering far beyond the original event. Zen practice trains a different movement. First, meet what is actually here. Feel the body. Name less. Observe more. This does not mean approving of injustice or becoming passive. It means not wasting strength on the fantasy that the present can be erased by inner refusal. Some people find this teaching powerful because it exposes a hidden factory of pain. The situation may be hard, but the mind often builds extra walls around it. When resistance softens, energy becomes available for wiser action. The ego is not destroyed. Its authority is questioned. This is an important correction because people sometimes imagine Zen as a project of self-annihilation. That can become unhealthy and dramatic. In practice, the ordinary sense of self still functions. You answer to your name. You remember appointments. You protect the body. You make choices. Zen is not trying to erase practical identity. It is investigating the false authority that identity often claims. The ego says, I am the center. My fears are facts. My opinions are reality. My wounds define everything. My cravings must be obeyed. Meditation begins to question that command structure. Thoughts appear and vanish. Roles change. Moods rise and fall. The supposed ruler starts to look less solid. This does not create a blank person. It can create a freer person. Some people find this more fascinating than the fantasy of ego death. The point is not to murder the self. The point is to stop letting a mirage govern the kingdom. Compassion begins by seeing that no life stands alone. Zen does not treat compassion as mere kindness added onto a separate self. It begins deeper than manners. It begins with the recognition that every being is woven into conditions beyond counting. The person who irritates you has parents, wounds, fears, hunger, history, and private weather you may never see. The stranger in the street is not an isolated object passing through your day. They are a whole world moving under a name. This does not mean every action is excused. It means the mind becomes less eager to flatten others into enemies, obstacles, or background scenery. Some people find this almost radical because it breaks the illusion of separation without needing grand metaphysics. If nothing exists alone, then cruelty becomes a kind of blindness. Kia becomes realism. Compassion is not sentimental softness. It is the disciplined ability to see connection where the ego prefers distance and to respond from that wider view. Non-attachment means caring deeply without turning care into possession. This teaching is often misunderstood as coldness, withdrawal, or emotional distance. Zen points towards something much more demanding. It asks whether love can remain open-handed. Can you care for a person without trying to control their path? Can you enjoy beauty without needing to freeze it in place? Can you serve a goal without making your identity depend on the result? Attachment is not the same as affection. It is the grasping that says, "This must be mine. This must not change. This must obey my fear." That grasping can turn love into pressure and commitment into captivity. Non-attachment does not make the heart smaller. It may make the heart cleaner. Some people find this teaching unsettling because it challenges the way desire disguises itself as devotion. Zen asks us to look closely. Are we caring for the thing itself, or for the version of it that protects our self-image? Emotions are not denied. Their movement is studied closely. Zen is not asking people to become stone statues with calm faces and buried storms. That would only create another layer of dishonesty. Instead, the practice invites direct observation of emotion as it happens in the body and mind. Grief tightens the chest. Jealousy heats the thoughts. Shame lowers the gaze. Joy opens the breath. Each emotion has texture, speed, location, and story. When watched carefully, feelings become less mysterious and less absolute. They are not ignored, but they are also not allowed to seize the throne without question. This is where Zen becomes psychologically fascinating. It creates a laboratory inside ordinary feeling. The practitioner learns that an emotion can be real without being final. It can be intense without being identity. Some people search for hidden forces controlling human behavior. Zen says, begin here. Watch one feeling arise, change shape, demand belief, and pass like a visitor through a room. Anger becomes workable when seen before it becomes identity. There is a crucial moment before anger hardens into a story about who we are and what must happen next. Zen trains attention to notice that moment. At first, anger may appear as heat, tightening, speed, pressure, or a sudden narrowing of the world. Then thought begins building its case. I am right. They are wrong. This must be punished. Once the story takes command, the person often feels possessed by it. Zen does not say, anger is always useless. Anger can signal harm, boundary, or injustice. The danger comes when the emotion becomes a mask the self refuses to remove. Practice creates a small space before identification. In that space, energy can become clarity instead of destruction. Some people find this powerful because it reveals that anger is not one solid thing. It is a process. If seen early enough, the process can be guided rather than obeyed. Fear softens when the mind stops adding stories to it. Fear often begins in the body before the mind explains it. The stomach drops. The breath tightens. The muscles prepare. Then, imagination arrives and starts building a world around the sensation. It predicts rejection, collapse, humiliation, loss, danger, and future pain. Sometimes fear is useful. It can protect life. Zen is not interested in pretending danger never exists. But the practice notices how much suffering comes from the stories added after the first signal. The mind can turn a small uncertainty into a full theater of disaster. Sitting with fear reveals its construction. There is sensation. There is thought. There is memory. There is the urge to escape. When these parts are seen separately, the monster becomes less solid. Some people find this almost uncanny. Fear that looked like prophecy becomes weather passing through awareness. It may still be present, but it no longer writes the whole script. Freedom can begin before outer circumstances have changed. This is not a denial of real difficulty. Zen does not pretend that poverty, illness, grief, injustice, or responsibility can be wished away by a better attitude. Yet it makes a startling claim. The first movement of freedom may happen inside the way we meet conditions, even before those conditions improve. A trapped mind can carry its prison into a palace. A clearer mind can find room to breathe inside hardship. This does not mean accepting everything passively. It means action becomes wiser when it is not driven entirely by panic, resentment, or fantasy. The practice begins with the next breath, the next response, and the next honest seeing. Some people are drawn to this because it challenges the mainstream promise that life must be rearranged before peace is possible. Zen asks whether a deeper shift can happen now, in the middle of the unfinished situation, where the old reaction once seemed automatic. Transformation often looks ordinary because it happens through ordinary conduct. People expect life change to arrive with drama. They imagine a breakthrough, a revelation, a public declaration, or a dramatic new identity. Zen gives another picture. A person speaks with slightly more patience. They clean what they used to ignore. They listen before defending. They return to practice after failing. They waste less food. They bow more sincerely. These changes may look small from the outside, but they reveal a rearrangement at the root. Zen is interested in the kind of transformation that survives when nobody is watching. That is why it values conduct over performance. The world may never applaud the moment when someone chooses not to repeat an old, harmful pattern. Yet that moment may be more important than 1,000 impressive speeches. Some people find this fascinating because it suggests that the deepest changes can hide in plain sight. The miracle does not always glow. Sometimes it simply behaves differently. Consistency matters more than emotional inspiration on the path. Inspiration is beautiful, but Zen does not build the path on moods that come and go. A person may feel deeply moved after a retreat, a book, a conversation, or a difficult life event. Then, the feeling fades. The old habits return. This is where consistency reveals its power. Sitting when practice feels ordinary. Returning after distraction. Bowing when the mind is not impressed. Doing the next task with care even when no inner music is playing. Zen trusts repeated action more than dramatic emotion because repeated action reshapes a life. The schedule does not ask whether the practitioner feels poetic today. It asks whether they will show up. Some people find this bracing because it cuts through the modern addiction to motivation. The path is not waiting for a perfect feeling. It is built by what you keep doing after the feeling has changed, and after the audience has gone home. The meditation cushion becomes a mirror that refuses flattery. A mirror in daily life can be manipulated by angle, lighting, expression, and costume. The cushion offers a harsher kind of reflection. Sit down, stop performing, and the mind begins to reveal itself. Not the version presented to friends, not the version defended in private stories. The actual patterns appear. Restlessness, fantasy, old resentment, hunger for approval, sudden tenderness, random memory, the wish to escape. Zen does not treat this as failure. It treats it as honest information. That is why the cushion can feel both ordinary and unforgiving. It shows the practitioner what is happening before the self has polished it. Some people are drawn to hidden knowledge, but this may be the most hidden knowledge of all. The secret machinery of one's own mind becomes visible. There is no need for drama. The room is still. The body sits. The mirror does its work by offering nothing to hide behind. Calmness loses its value when it becomes a performance. Zen is not impressed by a peaceful face if that peace is being used as a mask. A person can appear serene while secretly clinging to superiority, avoidance, or fear of conflict. This is why the tradition keeps cutting through spiritual theater. Calm can be genuine, but it can also become a costume. Someone may speak softly because they are wise, or because they are trying to control how they are perceived. Someone may avoid strong emotion because they are balanced, or because they are afraid of being real. Zen asks for honesty before image. True steadiness does not need to advertise itself. It can respond when needed. It can say no. It can act firmly without hatred. Some people find this teaching refreshing because it challenges the marketable version of spirituality. The goal is not to look calm in every room. The goal is to stop being ruled by what calmness is trying to conceal. A true Zen answer may feel inconvenient to the ego. The ego usually wants answers that protect its position. It wants to be praised, justified, comforted, or given a special identity. Zen answers often do the opposite. They cut into the assumption behind the question. Someone asks how to become free, and the response may reveal their craving for achievement. Someone asks about compassion, and the reply may point to how they treat the person beside them. This can feel inconvenient because the teaching refuses to stay abstract. It will not let wisdom become decoration. A real answer may not satisfy the part of us that wants to remain unchanged. It may expose the exact habit we hope to keep hidden. Some people love this about Zen because it feels like spiritual counterintelligence. The tradition does not always meet you where your ego wants to be met. It meets you where the knot is tied, and then it quietly pulls. Speed can become a subtle form of sleepwalking through life. Modern life often celebrates speed as competence. Faster replies, faster decisions, faster travel, faster consumption, faster improvement. Zen asks what is being lost in the rush. When speed becomes automatic, attention thins out. A person may move through an entire day without truly tasting a meal, hearing a friend, feeling the body, or noticing the sky above the street. The danger is not speed itself. Sometimes quick action is necessary. The danger is unconscious momentum. The body moves, the mouth speaks, the hands work, and yet the person is barely present. Zen practices slow certain actions not because slowness is holy by itself, but because slowing reveals what speed hides. Impatience appears. Anxiety appears. The need to finish appears. Some people find this almost eerie. It suggests that a whole society can look awake while moving in a trance. The remedy begins with one act done without fleeing from it. The body remembers teachings that the intellect quickly forgets. You may hear a wise idea and agree with it instantly, then lose it the moment life becomes difficult. The body learns differently. A bow repeated over months teaches humility through movement. A seated posture teaches steadiness through muscle and bone. Walking meditation teaches measured attention through the soles of the feet. Chanting teaches rhythm through breath and voice. Zen uses the body because thought alone is unreliable under pressure. When anger rises, the body knows whether practice has gone deeper than theory. When fear tightens the chest, the body reveals what has truly been trained. This is why Zen forms matter. They store wisdom in action. Some people find this fascinating because it challenges the idea that understanding lives mostly in the head. The body carries memory, habit, tension, and possibility. A teaching that enters the body becomes harder to fake and harder to forget when the mind starts spinning. Walking meditation turns movement into attention without leaving daily life. Meditation is often imagined as sitting still, but Zen also trains awareness through slow and deliberate walking. This matters because life does not happen only on a cushion. People walk into rooms, toward conversations, away from conflict, through streets, across kitchens, and into the next obligation. Walking practice brings attention into motion. The foot lifts, moves, touches, and receives weight. The body travels without abandoning the present. That sounds simple, yet it exposes how often movement becomes unconscious. We hurry toward the future, replay the past, and treat the path beneath us as irrelevant. Zen reverses that habit. Each step becomes complete. Not symbolic, actual. Some people find this powerful because it makes practice portable. You do not need a perfect temple to begin. A hallway, a garden path, or a small room can reveal the same truth. The body is always moving through now. The question is whether the mind has come along. The monastery gate symbolizes entering practice with the whole self. A gate does more than mark a boundary in space. It marks a change in intention. To pass through it is to leave behind, at least for a while, the ordinary momentum of distraction, status, and personal drama. The person entering still carries their fears, memories, habits, and desires. Zen does not ask them to pretend otherwise. The point is to bring the whole messy self into practice, rather than only the polished version. This makes the gate psychologically powerful. It says, a threshold has been crossed, and thresholds matter. Human beings need symbols that help the mind understand a decision. Some people see gates as energetic passages or hidden markers between worlds. Zen gives the idea a practical force. The outside world is not evil, and the inside is not magic. But when you enter with sincerity, the same person can begin to move under a different vow. Bells invite the scattered mind to gather itself again. The sound arrives without argument. It does not shame the wandering mind, and it does not explain why attention matters. It simply calls. In Zen practice, bells help mark transitions, but their deeper function is psychological. They interrupt the private dream. One moment the mind is planning, remembering, judging, or drifting. The next moment a tone spreads through the room and gathers everything into hearing. That gathering can happen in an instant. The body pauses. The breath notices itself. The room becomes shared again. This is why bells feel so powerful in a distracted age. Modern attention is pulled apart by alerts, messages, headlines, and endless invitations to leave the present. A Zen bell works in the opposite direction. It does not scatter. It collects. Some people may think of it as just a ritual object, yet its real power is direct. It trains the nervous system to return before the next thought takes over. Silence can reveal a student's hunger for certainty. When a teacher does not answer, the student's inner demand becomes louder. The room may be still, but the mind starts reaching. It wants a conclusion. It wants reassurance. It wants to know whether it is right, advanced, safe, or approved. Zen uses silence because it can expose this hunger more cleanly than speech. An explanation may satisfy the surface question while leaving the deeper craving untouched. Silence removes the usual food. Then the student has to feel the ache of not knowing. This can be uncomfortable, even humiliating, because certainty is one of the ego's favorite shelters. Some people are fascinated by this method because it feels like a hidden test. Nothing is happening, yet everything is happening. The student is meeting the raw edge of dependence on answers. Zen does not reject understanding. It asks whether we can stand in the open long enough for a different kind of understanding to appear. Zen warns that enlightenment can become another fantasy of self-improvement. This may be one of the tradition's most important warnings for modern seekers. The mind can turn awakening into a project for becoming extraordinary. It imagines a future self who is calm, admired, untouchable, wise, and spiritually impressive. That fantasy may look holy, but it is still built around self-obsession. Zen cups into this with unusual force. If practice only strengthens the idea of a special me, something has gone wrong. Enlightenment is not supposed to become the ego's luxury brand. It is not a personality upgrade designed for display. The tradition repeatedly points back to ordinary conduct because conduct reveals whether the fantasy has softened. Can the person apologize? Can they clean up after themselves? Can they meet discomfort without turning it into a drama of spiritual importance? Some people find this warning uncomfortable because it exposes the secret ambition hiding inside the wish to transcend ambition. The trap is elegant, and Zen sees it. Ordinary kindness is often the deepest expression of awakening. Zen stories can be strange, sharp, and paradoxical. But the path is not measured only by dramatic insight. Sometimes the clearest sign of practice is simple human decency. Someone listens when they could interrupt. Someone helps without making a performance of it. Someone notices a tired person, protects a small creature, or speaks with restraint when anger would be easier. These acts may not look mystical, but they reveal whether separation has softened. Awakening that never becomes kindness remains suspicious. Zen brings realization back to the marketplace, the kitchen, the street, and the difficult conversation. This is important because spiritual culture can become fascinated with rare states and impressive language. The tradition asks a more practical question. How does insight behave? Some people find this almost shocking in its simplicity. The deepest teaching may not announce itself as profound. It may appear as the person who makes life less heavy for someone else. Global interest grew as modern life made attention feel endangered. Zen spread widely beyond Asia for many reasons, including migration, translation, travel, books, teachers, universities, art, psychotherapy, and countercultural curiosity. Yet one reason stands out today. Modern life has made attention feel fragile. People are surrounded by screens, speed, noise, advertising, and constant mental interruption. In that environment, a tradition built around presence begins to look less like an antique practice and more like an emergency medicine. Zen does not offer only escape from stress. It offers a critique of the distracted self. Who are we when our attention is always being pulled, sold, and fragmented? Some people feel that official culture has underestimated the cost of this fragmentation. Zen appears with an ancient counterproposal. Sit down. Breathe. Notice. Stop handing your mind to every passing signal. Its global appeal may come from this tension. The older the practice looks, the more urgently it speaks to the newest forms of distraction. Artists admired the balance of spontaneity, restraint, and discipline. Zen-influenced art has long attracted creators because it holds together qualities that usually seem opposed. There is freedom, but not chaos. There is simplicity, but not emptiness of skill. There is spontaneity, but it comes after training. A brushstroke may happen in one breath, yet that breath may rest on years of practice. This tension fascinates artists because it mirrors the creative act itself. Too much control can kill aliveness. Too little form can dissolve meaning. Zen aesthetics search for the living point between them. A painting, poem, garden, bowl, or line of ink can feel immediate without feeling careless. Some people sense something almost secret in this balance, as if the visible work carries the invisible condition of the maker. The art asks whether the creator was present. It asks whether restraint increased power rather than reducing it. That question continues to influence artists who want depth without excess. Designers learned that less can become more powerful than excess. Zen-influenced design helped give modern culture a language for restraint. A room does not need to be filled to feel complete. An object does not need ornament to carry presence. A layout can become stronger when space is allowed to do part of the work. This idea has spread into architecture, product design, interiors, typography, and even digital interfaces. But its roots are deeper than style. The point is not emptiness for fashion. It is attention. Excess can numb perception. Too many objects compete until nothing is truly seen. Restraint makes relationship visible. A single chair, window, or line can gain force when surrounded by space. Some people are drawn to this because it feels like a rebellion against consumer hypnosis. The mainstream story says more is more. Zen aesthetics whisper the opposite. Remove enough, and the remaining thing may finally reveal its strength. Power does not always increase by addition. The empty page is never merely blank in Zen art. In many artistic traditions, blank space may be treated as background. In Zen-influenced work, it can become active. The unpainted area is not simply unused paper. It shapes the image, gives breath to the form, and invites the viewer's mind to participate. A branch may appear stronger because of the space around it. A single character may feel alive because the page has not been crowded. This idea can feel almost mystical, but it is also precise. Absence changes perception. What is not shown can deepen what is shown. Some people find this fascinating because it challenges the habit of equating meaning with visible content. Zen art suggests that emptiness is not a lack waiting to be filled. It is a field, but allows things to appear. The page becomes a collaboration between ink and openness. The viewer is not told everything. They are invited to meet the silence surrounding the mark. Consumer culture is challenged by asking what is truly enough. Zen carries a quiet but serious threat to the machinery of endless wanting. Much of modern life depends on the belief that satisfaction is one purchase, upgrade, achievement, or image away. The mind is trained to feel incomplete. Zen asks a dangerous question. What if enough is not reached by accumulation? What if the hunger keeps moving because the problem is not the object, but the grasping? This does not mean rejecting comfort or beauty. It means seeing the difference between use and addiction. A bowl can be enough. A room can be enough. A meal can be enough. A breath can be enough. To a consumer culture, this is almost subversive. Someone who knows enough cannot be manipulated as easily. Some people feel the official story of success has become a spell cast over daily life. Zen breaks the spell by returning value to attention, restraint, gratitude, and direct experience. The gap before reaction can become the beginning of freedom. Much of human suffering unfolds in a tiny interval we usually miss. Something happens, and reaction leaps forward. A criticism becomes defensiveness. A delay becomes irritation. A desire becomes action. A fear becomes avoidance. Zen trains awareness inside that interval. At first, the gap may seem almost non-existent. With practice, it becomes visible. There is a sensation. There is a thought. There is a pull toward the familiar response. Then, another possibility appears. This is where freedom begins, not as a grand philosophy, but as a small space before habit completes itself. Some people find this idea electrifying because it reveals that destiny may be hiding in milliseconds of attention. The old pattern says, "This is just who I am." Zen says, "Look closer." A reaction is not a command from the universe. It is an event arising in awareness. If it can be seen, it may not have to be obeyed. Yesterday's insight cannot breathe for today's living mind. Zen does not allow yesterday's clarity to become today's decoration. A person may have had a powerful realization, a profound meditation, or a moment of startling peace. The mind immediately wants to preserve it, repeat it, and build an identity around it. Zen warns that this can turn a living insight into a dead souvenir. The path must be met again now. Today's irritation, today's desire, today's fear, and today's ordinary task are the actual field of practice. Memory cannot do the work for you. This is both humbling and freeing. No one gets to retire into past wisdom. No one is permanently disqualified by past confusion. Some people find this bracing because it refuses spiritual nostalgia. The truth is not trapped in the best moment you ever had. It must be breathed again through the life that is actually happening, with the mind that is actually here. Simplicity often appears after the unnecessary has been removed. Zen simplicity is not the same as emptiness imposed by lack of imagination. It is often the result of careful removal. A room is simplified when clutter no longer steals attention. A sentence is simplified when vanity is cut away. A life is simplified when false obligations lose authority. This process can be harder than adding things because addition feels productive. Removal requires honesty. What is here only to impress? What is here because of fear? What is here because the self does not know how to stop? Zen aesthetics and practice both return to this question. The unnecessary may be physical, emotional, verbal, or psychological. Some people find the idea almost like a hidden operation being performed on the self. Layer after layer is peeled back until something clearer remains. Simplicity is not an empty room for its own sake. It is the space where what matters can finally be seen. Clear seeing changes life without needing to decorate it. Zen trusts perception more than ornament. When something is seen clearly, action changes naturally. If you see that a habit creates suffering, you do not need to wrap the insight in dramatic language. If you see that a person is hurting, compassion becomes practical. If you see that a desire is controlling you, the spell begins to weaken. This is why Zen can feel plain and radical at the same time. It does not always add new beliefs. It removes distortion. The world does not need to be made more mystical before it becomes profound. It needs to be met without the fog of craving, fear, and self-deception. Some people search for hidden truths in elaborate systems, and there is a place for mystery. Yet Zen offers a startling alternative. Look cleanly at the thing in front of you. The change may begin there, not through decoration, but through accuracy. The awakened life is not elsewhere. It is this life clearly met. This may be the great reversal at the heart of Zen. The seeker imagines the path will eventually lead to another state, another self, another world, or another kind of life. Zen keeps turning the person back toward what is already here. The sound in the room, the ache in the body, the person beside you, the unfinished task, the breath entering and leaving. This does not mean everything is already perfect in the ordinary sense. It means the habit of fleeing reality is part of the confusion. Awakening is not elsewhere, because elsewhere is often the mind's favorite hiding place. Some people find this both comforting and unsettling. It removes the fantasy of escape, but it also removes the delay. The path is not waiting in a distant future. It is asking to be met through this conversation, this meal, this mistake, this grief, this mourning, and this one unrepeatable moment. Zen leaves a startling invitation: become fully present. After all the stories, bells, gardens, koans, teachers, bowls, robes, and brushstrokes, the invitation remains direct. Be here, not as a slogan, and not as a performance. Be here with the body that is breathing now. Be here with the mind that wanders and returns. Be here with the person in front of you before memory and judgment cover them. This sounds simple, which is why the ego underestimates it. To be fully present means the usual escapes begin to weaken. Fantasy loses some authority. Resentment has less room to rehearse itself. Desire is seen before it takes command. The ordinary world begins to recover its depth. Some people spend their lives searching for a hidden door behind reality. Zen suggests the stranger possibility. The door may be reality itself, finally entered without distraction. The path does not end by becoming exotic. It opens by becoming completely awake to what is here. And so, we come to the end of this journey through Zen. We have moved through a tradition that does not ask us to escape ordinary life, but to enter it more fully. Again and again, Zen returned us to simple things. A bowl being washed, a floor being swept, a bell sounding through a temple, a cup of tea held in both hands, a breath arriving without effort and leaving without permission. At first, these things can seem too small to matter. But Zen asks us to look again. It tells us that the mind searching for peace may be the very mind disturbing it. It tells us that silence can reveal what words often protect. It shows us that discipline is not punishment. It is a container for attention. And it reminds us that simplicity is not emptiness. It is what remains when the unnecessary falls away. We have met Bodhidharma facing the war. We have followed the path from Indian Buddhism into Chinese Chan, and from Chinese Chan into Japanese Zen. We have entered tea rooms where humility was built into the doorway. We have looked up stone gardens where space itself seems to speak. We have watched the brush move across paper, leaving behind a trace of breath, discipline, hesitation, or freedom. And again, Zen brought us back to one point. Awakening is not only found in grand ideas. It is found in the way a person stands, listens, eats, works, rests, and responds. Perhaps that is why Zen still feels so alive in the modern world. We live surrounded by noise, speed, screens, opinions, and constant invitations to be somewhere else. Our attention is pulled apart before we even notice it has wandered. And then Zen appears with an ancient answer that is almost shockingly simple. Sit down, breathe, look closely, return. So now, as these teachings begin to settle, you do not need to hold on to them tightly. Let the bell fade. Let the garden grow still. Let the tea bowl rest empty in your hands. Maybe one teaching will remain with you. Maybe it is the thought that your next breath is already a doorway. Maybe it is the idea that peace cannot be forced. Maybe it is the reminder that the life you keep trying to improve is also the life asking to be fully noticed. There is no need now to solve anything. No need to chase awakening into the distance. Feel the weight of your body. Let the day begin to loosen. Let your face soften. Let the jaw unclench, if it wants to. Let the shoulders drop away from the ears. Let the hands rest without needing to hold anything. The breath does not need to be controlled. A breath comes in. A breath goes out. And if you have enjoyed this journey, you are warmly invited to like, subscribe, or leave a thought below. It helps others discover these calm explorations too, one sleepy soul at a time. And if you happen to still be awake, another video will be waiting on the screen. But for now, let the teachings drift away. Let the empty circle close or remain open. You do not need to become anything tonight. You only need to rest. Sleep well and good night.